Hey yo, what's good, y'all? I'm your nerd, and I'm back interviewing another comic book creator. And today I have Gary of Divergent Comics. So, Gary, give a quick introduction for yourself.
Hey man, I'm happy to be here. It's come full circle. I interviewed you a few months ago on my YouTube channel, and it was a great conversation. And I look forward to have being on the other side of the conversation. But as you said, I'm Gary. I founded and created Divergent Comics back in 2021,
Hmm.
and it was kind of like a mid journey for me because I had started like trying to write comics prior to that, but I never really like dove in and actually did anything. It was just trying to figure out how I'm gonna do a script and coming up with storylines, characters, all that. But in 2021, I finally decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and take the plunge. I'm gonna start working on an actual comic, and um, I met some different artists and worked with this studio to try to get the artwork done. And I created my first comic called Charger. Um, at the time, I was kind of happy about it because I was like, it's my first comic. It's exciting. But then, really doing more research and studying more, I found out like, okay, this art could have been better. The process could have been a little bit more cleaner.
Hmm.
So I scrapped it, started over, took a year off, and 2023 I came out with my technically first book now called Bronze-Eyed. Um, and then towards the end of 2023, I came out with my second book called Lionheart. And yeah, it's been a fun journey so far, and I'm really enjoying just the process of making comics.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, you kind of said, like, a little bit about your beginnings, but what really pushed you to, start? Because you said you were kind of hesitant. What gave you that push to start making comics?
So I didn't grow up a comic book nerd. I loved, the cartoons and stuff. I grew up on Batman animated series, Justice League.
Facts.
Like
Facts.
most of us who, loved comics or loved superhero shows at the time. But it wasn't until 2018. It was funny because me and my cousin, we were supposed to, kind of get started on this whole process together. And, a few things happened. We didn't end up actually working together like we had planned to, but it was actually his idea. He was the one that was like, I want to write comics. I want to make my own comic stories. And I was like, okay, that sounds dope. At first I was like, that sounds like a good idea. And then, I started thinking, I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. I want to jump in on that too. And I came up with a couple of stories, and actually one of the stories I'm actually going to come out with, hopefully 2025, is the very first story I ever wrote for Divergent Comics. So I'm really excited for that. So that's kind of like what kind of got me jump started to do it, was just having someone that was like, you know what, I want to do this, and just really thinking about it and being like, yeah, let's do it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So going in, I want to talk to you a little bit about like what you said about you starting off with your first comic Charger, because you're actually redoing that, right? And that's coming out later this year or next year, right?
It should be coming out by the end of the summer.
Hey, that's what's up. That's what's
Yeah.
up. So with Charger and you going back and like having to scrap that, like what were some of the things that you had to deal with and like think about? Like what did you had to ask yourself to be like, yeah, I really think I'm gonna scrap this and start all over?
The biggest question I asked myself, honestly, was, is this something I want to do?
Mhm.
And that's why I took the year off, because it was like, I love, reading comics. At the time, I was reading like 4 or 5 comics a week, from indie creators, from Marvel, DC, all that. So I knew I loved reading comics, but the thing that I had to really, I guess, ask myself was, did I want to be a comic book creator?
Mhm.
And I linked up with a really good friend who, at the time, was just someone I had found on a Facebook group. I asked for some help with editing because, like, I felt like the story for Charger wasn't as good as it could have been. And he read over the script. He was like, I see promise here. And he just gave me some notes. He walked me through some steps on how to better organize and outline the scripts, and not only just outline that one script, but outline the entire series. So I, got up through issue 12 for the Charger already planned out and outlined.
Okay.
And that's where I got my love. That's where I found like, okay, I do want to do this. I do want to go down this path of, being a comic book creator. And it's because I got organized. That's literally all it was. I got organized and it's just like, okay, I can do this now. So that was the biggest thing. And then like finding the right artist to kind of capture the essence of the character, because I wanted her to have a gritty, realistic type of take, but I didn't want to go that hyper realism like we see with The Boys or with Invincible.
Right.
I wanted it to still have like that comic book feel. So found the right artist for it, and so far it's looking pretty good. I'm excited for everyone to see it because this story is going to be fun. Um, like I said, I've already planned out the first 12 issues, and one of the things that people should always know about me is I'm going to plan out the beginning, middle, and end of every story.
Mhm.
So the Charger is going to have a definitive ending, just like every other story I come out with for Divergent Comics.
Okay. Okay. I like to hear that. Was it really tough to scrap the work that you already had done?
At first, just because it was like, this is the first book, and I still have copies of it to this day. Is like as a reminder, like this is where I started. It's one of those things that you use to kind of keep yourself humble.
Hmm.
And I still get some praise from like the first book. Most people are like, this is good for a first story. This is good for starting out. And it's like, I can take that. But being good is never good enough for me. I always have to try to do better. Like Eric Thomas say, I'm always trying to do 1% better every day. So that was the goal. And so that's what made it a little bit easier, as time went on to kind of scrap the whole thing.
Okay. Okay. And I'm guessing, you're much happier with it now. So it was worth it in the end.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. This story, when I tell you like the idea that I had for the story initially is much more prevalent in this story the way that it's written now compared to where the way it was written before. The emotional aspect of it is there. And that's the thing that wasn't there to my liking, I would say, in the first story. Now it's very prevalent. I like it.
Okay. So along with Charger coming out, are there any other stories that are coming out with that?
Not with Charger, but I do have another story called Imperium that's
Hmm.
set to come out hopefully either by the end of this year or beginning of next year. That one was, I want to say, like maybe my third or fourth story I had written many years ago. And I'm excited for it because that one hadn't gone through any rewrites or anything. It's basically the way I originally wrote it. And I felt comfortable with it, especially with, going through the process of redoing Charger and essentially rewriting most of the stories I'm going to be coming out with. Only stories I never really truly rewrote were Imperium, which is coming out next year, and then my prize child, which is Nighthawk, which that's going to be coming out in 2025, hopefully. And that one, I don't think if anyone has read any of my stories so far, I don't think you're actually ready for what Nighthawk is going to actually present because it's
Okay.
just a whole different level. Um,
Something different.
yeah, it's so I've entered it into a couple of different writing contests and it's actually placed a couple of times, like semifinals, finalists, all that type of stuff. So it definitely has been vetted and it makes me feel a lot more confident in the script. So once I get the artist that I feel like can actually develop the art for it, it should be ready.
So that actually breeze into a really easy question. So you as a creator, right? You're the writer, like we both write. So when you go into, once the script is done and you start looking for your artist, what are some of the things that you look for in an artist?
So that's actually a really good question because when I first started out, I didn't know what I was looking for.
Right.
I was just like, hey, I need an
Like
artist.
Prime.
Right. I just need somebody to draw it and we go from there. And that's kind of like the pitfall I ran into with the first Charger story
Mhm.
is like, as you know, you got to have the right artist to really capture the essence of what you're trying to tell because comics is a visual medium.
Yes.
And
Yes, it
so
is.
when you tell a story in comics, you have to the charger has a very simple theme to it. It's about self-discovery. It's about legacy, and the artwork has to kind of deliver that message in a way that people can understand it. And so for me, what I do when I'm looking for an artist is first I try to figure out, okay, what is the theme and what is the tone of the story I'm trying to tell. With Nighthawk, for example, it's a very dark, gritty story,
Right.
but the theme is about family and love. So it's like you got to have that dark tone along with like that small ray of hope. It's almost like a Batman type of book.
Yeah, I was literally thinking that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you got to have someone that can, do that duality of it. And that's kind of been the hard part because not a lot of people can do that duality type of art. So that's really what I look for, someone who can give a good tone along with, matching the theme in their art. And to me, those type of artists are artists that are very visionary. They're not just artists. They're honestly creators, in my opinion, at that point.
right, right. Because artist, I feel like the artist's goal is just as much as a creator
Yeah.
in the process in making comics as we are as the writer.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So with you've been making comics for about what? Like you said, you took a break, and you said you came back in what 2021. You said
23. I came back
23.
23.
So you took the
Yep.
break from 2021 and came back in 23.
Yep.
Cool, cool. So how is it going so far? Because we're what, a year in. So how's everything going so far?
It's been up and down. I won't lie about it. Um, it was mostly down for a good portion of it because I had got Bronze created and it came out, and a lot of people really love Bronze, which is funny because um, I thought it would be one of those stories that people would like but not really fall in love with. But the more people read it, whether it be on Webtoon, Global Comics, or people that actually get the books physically, they're like, yo, like I really love this comic. I really love like the way that this ended. And then when I came out with Nighthawk, or not like Nighthawk, like Lionheart, I was like, okay, people were really gonna love this story. Like it's just gonna be great. Um, and a lot of people like it. It definitely has its flaws, and it's a lot of good feedback I got to really learn and tweak a few things. But for me right now, the hardest part has been just that process in between. Because when you finish one book, you're like, okay, I want to get this next one out like as soon as possible.
Right.
And sometimes you got to work with artists that delay a little bit, or sometimes you got to have some patience with yourself because you got to deal with your finances and all that stuff, and
Hmm.
just trying to navigate that whole world of comic book creating has been a little bit up and down, but I would say it's mostly been up over the last few months. I've been meeting a lot of great comic book creators like yourself, like our friend Malcolm Smiley.
Smiley.
He,
Yeah.
yeah, like you guys are honestly like some of the best people I've met in this whole process since last year, and I got to say, like that's what made it a lot more worth it to just make comics because yeah, you want to make your books, yeah, you want to get it out there, but I think for me, just having that community along the way and a group of people that you can like connect with, and they understand your process, you understand what you're going through, it all just makes it worth it. And once you get more books out, once I get in a flow, it'll definitely be more up. But it's been much better for sure as I've connected with more people.
Yeah. Because they're also with connecting with people, especially in what we do. You don't meet people every day that create comics. You feel me? So
Right.
it's like not everybody understands kind of like the process and things we do because not many people do what we do. So it's always good
Right.
to have like a community and people to talk to.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I kind of like about Twitter a little bit,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of creators on there where you can just kind of connect with and just build that camaraderie. Um, some of them, you gotta keep it at arm's length because it gets a little crazy. But a lot of them are really cool, and I've met more people on Twitter that are like I would say pretty good, at least working relationship friends in the industry rather than people that I want to keep at arm's length.
Right. Definitely. I agree too. I agree to that. So that steps into probably my hardest question that I have for these interviews. All right.
Okay.
So, like I told you, these interviews are kind of aimed to help creators that are, just starting out, just to hear other creators talk about what they've gone through and what they've been through, kind of just to help people out.
Hmm.
So, this next question is my biggest question, and it's what are the highs and the lows that you've been through in your time being as a comic book creator? Like you can go as personal as you want, you can tell me as much as you want, but or you can do highs first, lows first, it doesn't matter. But what are your highs and lows so far of being a comic book creator?
That is a deep question. I'm gonna start with the lows, just
Okay.
because those are easier to navigate right now. But I would say probably the lowest moment I ever had. I literally was like seconds away from just like giving up and just turning away from comic book creating altogether. I had recently lost my job, and was unable to really finish working on the books. I had a book that I had paid off the artist for, and it took them literally almost a year to finish the artwork. I was really frustrated and tired of like just dealing with the whole process. I was like, you know what, just it is what it is. Just chalk it up and just keep going. And I think that lasted for at least a couple of days where I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. And I didn't want to continue on because I was fed up. I had, and this is something that I think a lot of creators have to fight against often is that idea of comparison. I saw a lot of other people making comics,
Yes.
and I was like, that's not for me. I can't do it because I can't even get more than one book out. Um, so I compared myself to other people, and that's something I recently have been learning not to do,
Mm.
and more so just because I've been, doing these interviews myself and getting to know other people. And it's like, okay, everyone has their struggles, but there's ways to
Yeah.
navigate against it. But at the time, because I was in my own little silo, I didn't know that. It was like one of those things where you look across the street at your neighbor and you see their grass a little bit greener. It's like, okay, well, maybe I should, do what they do. But it's like you can't always do what other people do, which is kind of why I named my comics Divergent Comics, because I'm not always going to be able to do what other people do. I have to do my own thing, as Miles Morales would say. So that's really the lowest point I've ever been in. I would also say like there was a low when I first came out with Charger, the first issue, the first book, and just the whole process of having people not really seem like they were interested in reading the book. I reached out to a few people to like ask them to like do reviews and stuff, and those people just brushed me off or said yeah we'll do it, and then like never came back or did anything or said anything or whatnot, and that was discouraging. But other than that, the highs, I would say when I came out with Lionheart and I started sharing the webtoon and global comics links and seeing just those numbers, whether it wasn't really big numbers, it was like 4 or 5 people will read it every other day or something like that. It's like, okay, well, people are reading it. And it's
Right.
not like they would read like a page or two, they would read like basically the whole book. Like, okay, well, they must like it. They're reading the whole thing. And on Global Comics and on Webtoon, they show you like the analytics, so you can
They
see like
do.
how far people read and everything.
Yeah.
That's kind of a blessing and a curse for someone like us,
It
who
is.
overthink everything. So it's
Exactly.
like
You really look at those numbers like what this mean? What this mean? What this mean?
exactly. So you kind of get stuck in your own way. But something that I've always tried to, especially since I went through this whole journey of self-discovery and trying to learn how to, battle against the negative thoughts and use positive thinking as a benefit to myself, looking at it as, okay, well, I got 5 more people than I did yesterday,
Mm.
or I got 2 more people than I did yesterday. So, whether it was 50 people, or whether it was just 2 people, it's still a benefit because I got people looking at my stuff.
Right.
And then, just using that as fuel to be like, okay, this is where this is where the actual work begins, trying to get the work out there. And that's when I finally decided to go to a Comic Con. And June 1st, I went to my first Comic Con in Augusta, Georgia,
Mhm.
where I'm actually was born and raised, and was there for that 1 day con. And I made some money. I sold all the comics I had on me. I had people sign up
Hey,
for the email and stuff. So it was a huge, huge turnout. And that made me realize, okay, you can't just give up. You have to just take the little wins. And that's what I try to tell anyone who talks to me about, dealing with their struggles or being frustrated. Is like, you got to celebrate the little wins. You got to celebrate the one person that bought your comic, the one person that read it on the web service. Celebrate those little wins, because when you get to the bigger wins, you'll be more appreciative.
man, I like that. I like that. So while you were talking about your highs, this kind of a question kind of rose in my head. I've seen it before, but I kind of wanted to ask you this. So I seen this question on Twitter, and it
Okay.
was, as a creator, would you rather have more money on a Kickstarter campaign or more backers on a Kickstarter campaign? And I wanted to pose that question to you. What would you
Mm.
rather have?
I would definitely say more money. um, I've run a Kickstarter. You and I had to do a Kickstarter late last year, and I unfortunately didn't hit goal. I was like 100, $200 short. Learning experience is fine, but I had pretty decent amount of backers. I had like almost 20 backers, I believe. So I would definitely take the money, just because I feel like that would at least guarantee that I hit goal. And I'd
Right,
rather hit goal than have a bunch of people and be just under it.
right. I agree with you. I definitely, me too. I said the money because if I get the money, I can make more comics. You feel
Exactly.
me? I understand getting more readers, more fans, but if I can make the more comics and get the more money, get some, use it for promotion and stuff like that, I can get more
Exactly.
readers. You feel me? Yeah.
Exactly.
So also with that, kind of to go into that, so with the Kickstarter, what are some of the things you learned from having a failed Kickstarter?
That is a good question. Um, Marketing is hard.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely.
the hardest part of doing a Kickstarter is you have to, for at least 30 days daily, be on the grind,
Daily.
reaching out. You have to literally be a salesman. And that's one of the things I had to really fight against, which was so difficult for me, and part of why I failed my Kickstarters, because I'm not really a salesman. I don't like to try to twist people's arm
Hmm.
to make a sale. Um, what I like to do is try to have a conversation with people. So one of the things I had to learn was, find ways to be creative and do what I can do to be slightly uncomfortable, but comfortable enough to do the marketing. Um, like I said, I think I was like maybe 100, $200 short of my goal, maybe even less than that. The best thing that I can do, especially if you're someone like me, where you kind of don't want to like just jump in someone's DM and say, "Hey, you should back my Kickstarter." Um, Make good, engaging posts. I've become more confident in my uh, use on Canva
Hmm.
and creating different photos. I've gotten better with using CapCut, creating videos so that you
You
can
become
put it
basically a content creator and a graphic designer.
exactly. You got to do it, because the only way you're going to get people interested in backing your Kickstarter is, one, you have to have the views, and the
Hmm.
only way you're going to get the views is one of two ways, really. Either you have really engaging content that people are drawn to, or somebody who knows somebody who has an audience.
Right.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why I like building this community too, is because I may have a small audience, you may have a bigger audience, but we don't have the same audience all the time. So we
Exactly.
can we can connect, we can interact. My videos reach people that yours may not reach, your videos reach people that mine may not reach. Next thing you know, we've gotten a larger crowd invested in both of our content. Next thing you know, we do a Kickstarter. And say your last Kickstarter got 50 people. Well, your next Kickstarter may get 100 because you got 25 people from me, 25 people from someone else. So that to me is like the biggest thing is trying to network, learn how to market in a way that fits your style, and learn how to become a graphic artist because you're going to need to make your own promotional content.
Exactly. You gotta wear all the
Yeah.
hats when you're a comic book creator. So also into that, like networking. What are some of like the tricks to the trade that you're doing to network? What are some of like your little things that you help you network and grow, not even just grow an audience, but grow the community and the audience? What are some of the things that you're doing and some of the things that you think maybe you should do more at?
I know one thing I want to do more is back more Kickstarters.
Right.
Um, I've been trying to find people on Twitter, on threads, and just you got a Kickstarter bet. I'm gonna save it, and when it drops, I'm gonna try to back it. But one of the things I think I'm pretty good at, and it's odd because I'm not really a social person. You know,
Mhm.
anyone who watches my YouTube videos or watches this, they'll be like, I don't know, you seem pretty sociable to me. I'd rather be in my room tucked away watching TV or reading a comic. Like you, you will rarely see me outside. But I can get on social media, whether it be Facebook, Threads, Instagram, Twitter, and I can connect with people from any walk of life doing anything. And that's kind of my superpower. That's something that I've always just kind of had. And I've just tried to lean into it a little bit more as I've gotten deeper into this comic book creating thing. So for me, the networking part that's easiest is just connecting with people. And it's something simple as, for example, if you make a post, like I think you made a post yesterday or the day before, just showcasing one of your characters, Subject Zero.
Mhm.
Just going on there, bro, this is dope. This is fire.
Right.
Boom. You've just networked. You've literally
That's
just connected with somebody.
that simple. I be trying to tell people. It's social media makes it easy. All you gotta do is like, comment, is just put an emoji. Just put the five
Yeah,
emojis. That's it. That's really all you gotta do.
that's really all it is. And I think a lot of times people make it a little bit more difficult than they think it is because they think, oh, I gotta not only do I have to comment, like your stuff, I gotta, jump your DMs and we gotta have a whole conversation. No,
Oh,
like
right.
I think you and I have followed you for at least about a couple months, maybe almost a year before I even asked you to jump on my YouTube channel and do the interview. Like
Right.
things like that is really not that difficult. It's just knowing for one what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and then two, just being yourself and being personable. I think one of the things that's kind of my superpower with that is I'm as personable as you can get. I don't care who you are, what type of person you are. I'll appeal to your humanity in any way possible, and I can find a connection.
And these people that you connect with, the more people that you meet, are you finding that you're meeting more like-minded people, or you're finding that you're meeting more people that are kind of different with the way they think? Which is not a bad thing. When I say different, I don't always mean like, they're crazy or racist or something like that. I just kind of mean like, they're just maybe you can learn something from because they're different. Even though you can learn from people that are still alike, but you maybe learn something from them. And also, you can also put in the racist, evil people too. Throw in there.
Yeah, I would say I definitely learn a lot from different people. And I think I draw in people from all different walks of life, which is kind of funny. It's just something that's always been part of me, even as a child. It's funny, when I graduated high school, I used to tell people, I was like, I could go sit in the cafeteria with the jocks because I was on the football team. But then, I would sit with the nerds also because I was in the advanced classes. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting with the theater kids because, I like some of the musicals and whatnot. So I could always go and connect with all types of people. And it's the same way for me in the comic book community. I got friends and people who do more of the traditional comic books. I have some people who do non-traditional. I have some people that are more into like horror stuff. So it's definitely a wide range of people that I've connected with, and I've learned a little bit about storytelling in different ways from each of them, and I've appreciated it. It's definitely been a huge benefit to just learn the whole process of making comics from all different types of people.
So out of this, from what we're talking about, it kind of seems like you've drawn a lot from, different people in it. Would you say that has the connections and networking that you've made, that has been the biggest part of your comic book creating, is just networking and, learning different things, kind of being a sponge?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, if I just decide tomorrow, like, you know what, I'm done making comics, I'm just going to support the comic book community, it would be just so that I could find ways to connect with other comic book creators and highlight them in any way. I will completely divert everything to doing like comic book creator interviews and doing blogs and stuff. Like that would be my whole purpose if I were to change and pivot from this. But I'm definitely not pivoting at this point. I'm too
Yeah,
deep
yeah. I was going to
in.
say, I like your interviews, bro, but don't stop with the comics. Yeah,
No, no.
don't stop with the comics. But so I got one last question to ask you. Thank you. Also, thank you. This has been a really dope interview. Like I said, these interviews are aimed for like creators also to, get their story out there, but also their stories can help other creators, which I
Yeah.
think this interview definitely I think will help people coming up, especially with some things you talk about. And I just want to thank you for being open and honest about, even some of the failures and what you've learned, because that definitely could help, other creators coming up. So with this last question, this one, if you could give advice to either yourself starting out or a creator starting out right now, what advice would you give?
Before I answer that, I want to say thank you for bringing me on because this was honestly great. Just like last time, we have a great conversation going, and I consider you definitely one of the better comic book creators. I would say probably be closer to one of my friends. So I
Hey, that's
appreciate you.
tough. Yeah.
To answer your question, I would say be patient. That is the to me that's the one thing that has to be drilled into people who make comics because I know for me when I started out, it was, all right, I'm gonna write this script and I'm gonna just get it to an artist and we're gonna go. I didn't understand the process. I didn't understand, the norms. I didn't understand like the time it took, the amount of funds it took. It was just kind of just jump into it. And I would tell any creator that's getting started, I would definitely go back and tell myself back in 2018, like, yo, take a breath, relax, be patient, and study. Find comic book scripts online that you can read.
Mhm.
Um, read comics. Like that's one of the funniest things to me is one of the things people I think overlook when making comics is they don't read comics. You have to read.
You got to be a fan.
You got to like you got to read. You don't have to read all types of comics. Just read whatever you like, and then glean from that. But just be patient with yourself. Allow yourself time to actually learn the craft. Allow yourself time to learn your style, learn your voice. Once you learn that stuff, start writing. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be good. Allow yourself to make mistakes, learn from it, and then keep going. Because once you learn from those mistakes and you allow yourself to be patient with yourself, you'll have more grace. And giving yourself more grace will allow you to actually make better content. And those comics will come out better.
That was actually really good advice. That was really good advice. I'm
I
loving
appreciate
it
it.
because you are my second interview. My first interview was Malcolm Smiley, and
Nice.
so his kind of was, to like just do it. Like he was like just do it, but like he was like don't stop, stop hesitating and do it. But I like what you said about being patient. I think both of those can go along together with
Yep.
like, just do it, jump into it, but be patient, be diligent about it. Do your
Exactly.
studying first, watch other creators. 'Cause that's
Hmm.
what I did. I looked at interviews like the ones that you do and the ones that I'm doing now. I watched those same interviews to like get, a little bit into the game. And
Right.
I think that was that together to those both of those pieces of advice, I think definitely will help a new creator out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. And I like that he said just do it because a lot of people will hesitate. They'll be like, "Oh, I want to do this. I got these great ideas. I got these great stories." And then they'll just sit on it or they'll just continue to like world build and they'll never outline the stories or they'll never create the characters. They'll never do these things that are required to get your story going. And if you just be like, "You know what? I'm gonna write this script. I don't care if it's good or bad. I'm gonna just write the script." And then you just work on it.
Right. You get it down. I just seen, so we been talking about Twitter a lot. I also seen on Twitter it was like person. I want to be a writer. Other person. Okay. I person. I don't know what to do. Person. Just write.
Right. It's that simple. It
Is that
really
simple?
is.
And then you work from there. And I think
Hmm.
also like to what you were saying, like you learn once you start, start with the script, write your script, learn from there, add on to it or take
Hmm.
things away, look at what other writers do, learn their
Yep.
process. And even though, like you said, everybody's different, like you've met so many different people, even like you said, people from like the horror realm. Like let's
Yep.
say there's stuff that you could take from them that you could put into yours that I think is dope, that you should
Yep.
really take from different mediums, different people, and make your own thing,
Yep.
do it like
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. That's one of the things that I really like the most, just about doing these interviews and learning about other people is being able to understand their process, but also learn where they get their inspiration. That's one of the questions I love asking. Where did you get your inspiration from? And everyone's inspiration is always so different, and that's the thing that I love the most because like you get to see little bits and pieces of people's soul, and that's really interesting to me.
Definitely. Well, Gary, thank you. That is the end of this interview. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out here? Anything you want to say?
Uh, yeah, find Divergent Comics on Instagram and on Facebook at on Instagram is at Divergent_comics, and on Facebook it's Comics Divergent. Unfortunately, someone stole Divergent Comics on Facebook the other way, so I had to do it backwards. But mainly, I would love to plug my YouTube channel. Starting in July, I'm going to be doing a new series where I'm going to be doing a game show called Nerd.ee. I'm really excited for it, and I actually was working on it just before I jumped on this interview, so it's going to be fun. I already got hopefully my first two guests on that are going to be facing off against each other, and we'll see how that goes.
Hey, I can't wait for that. I definitely have been looking for it. I heard you announce that, so I definitely can't wait for that one. That's gonna be dope.
Yeah, it's going to be
Hey,
fun.
thank you for coming through for this interview. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to everything that you do from here on out.
And I appreciate it. I'm definitely looking forward to more stuff from you as well because I need that for release issue 2 ASAP.
Oh man, I need it too, bro. I need it too. I can't wait. I need it too. But man, thank you so much once again.
No, no problem, man. I appreciate it.